iteration. And really neat is we average a 10-day turnaround to implement that feedback, which is a nice outcome of working with new technology. We just have the agility to implement and innovate quickly. And then in terms of looking at how clients use the product, customers use the product and innovating accordingly is we'll see, if, for example, on submittals, this was a way that we used our data to create a more intuitive product where we originally built submittals with a second layer, thinking that clients would have more versions to them. However, we recognized that after 3 billion plus of construction, clients were typically having plus minus 3 versions, and therefore we removed a layer, allowed for submittals to be managed on one landing page rather than having a second. And that just created a more intuitive UI, UX, user experience and interface. So that's just an example of how we study our back-end data. And moving beyond that, in terms of the drawing tool, that was actually one of the largest gaps that we closed since focusing on Jet full time. And that was caused by feedback from clients and potential clients, just understanding that was a tool that was so relevant for their day-to-day use, especially as it related to closing out RFIs and being able to link RFIs and, like you pointed out, change orders to specific changes on the plans, linking punch lists to specific drawing sheets to close out projects. So we were able to prioritize that and implement the drawing tool based on the needs of our customers. And in terms of innovating, what we're looking at and really excited about, don't yet have a timeline for this, but we've been testing AI's implementation on drawing management tool with the intention of having the ability to essentially search within your drawings using AI. So to say, hey, I understand where XYZ sheet lives in this drawing set, or understand what change occurred between drawing sets. So a little bit more robust functionality further than, just the simple overlay that we have already.
Yeah, no, it's certainly expanding on that. That's an awesome thing to hear. I mean, certainly from an insurance and risk mitigation standpoint, this kind of documentation and that level of communication is a welcome thing for any project team, right? To be able to pinpoint exactly what we're talking about and then disseminate that information to all the various stakeholders. I wonder, you mentioned getting feedback from your clients, prospective clients. Is it just the end users themselves, or is it kind of their partners as well? Because I could easily see how the risk management team, as opposed to the builders within that GC, would go, hey, we want X functionality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, exactly to your point is we encourage that feedback from all users, and to kind of further our ability to gain that feedback is what we offer at the time of onboarding is we'll tell the license holder, the client, which typically is either the builder or the GC or the general contractor. We'll tell them, hey, if you want us to onboard your external stakeholders, we offer that as a part of the activation package. Reason being is, that supports in the collective use and, everybody actually, onboarding and using the product to the extent that it exists and that it could support the process. So when we onboard those external teams, if it's, for example, the insurance team, like you brought up, then that gives us the connection point with that team and the ability to tell them directly, hey, you're getting onboarded for the insurance module. If you have we're running through the functionality of this. You have any questions up front, amazing, tell us. If you have any questions in a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever it may be, please reach out. It'd be great to hear that feedback and to implement accordingly. So our intention is really to essentially pool best practices from all teams across the globe, and then allow for end users to leverage those best practices.
Excellent. Adam, I mean, this has been a really impressive conversation so far. I think it'd be great value to our audience. We typically like to ask for 3 takeaways, right? So if I'm listening today and there were 3 big things you'd want the audience to leave this conversation with, what do you think those 3 things should be?
Yeah, great question. So, I'm going to take one step back and then forward to answer. Sure. The step back is going to touch on friction that I generally come across in companies adopting technology. which tends to be the preconceived notion of technology being difficult to implement, being a heavy lift and a heavy cost. So I bring those up to say, and to address now your question in terms of my takeaways is, if you're a leader in your company, or even if you're not a leader, right, you should ask internally, search internally to understand what values surround or lack of values surround innovation, seeking innovation for your team and for your company. That's one. Two is to recognize that solutions exist today that are cost effective and intuitive to use. Going back to that, iPhone or Android example, right? You don't need some heavy lift to get a new phone. You don't need some certificate to get a new phone, and relatively so, it's cost effective, right? So recognize that new tech today is enabling companies to adopt technology quickly in a cost effective manner. And I guess, lastly is to say, it's all kind of connected to the same concept here. And lastly is to say that check internally with your teams what can be automated or simplified on your day-to-day, right? And in doing so, you'll probably therefore end up with, search criteria to find technology that can solve for those day-to-day bottlenecks that you deal with.
Great takeaways. Additionally, we and I think it lends itself to that last bit. We like to share an action item, right? So